Thank you. All right, joining us now with more of our top story tonight. Comey's memos just released. We have copies. Fox News contributor Sara Carter, civil rights criminal defense attorney David Schoen. Sara, on number one, on the release of the memos, and number two, to your credit, you have been saying this criminal referral as it relates to Andrew McCabe has been coming for quite a while on this show.
Yes, we've been reporting that for some time, and it's because, look, the facts stand on their face. And if somebody's caught lying, particularly to the FBI, I mean, he is the deputy director, was the deputy director of the FBI, and he got caught in lies. And I think, as stated by the inspector general today, very clearly, he knowingly lied, intentionally lied. And that's something that he's going to have to deal with now. And as for the Comey memos, Sean, I got to tell you, something jumped out at me right away as I read this. On the first, it was January 6th when they went to Trump Tower, and Comey's first memos, he talks about Clapper asking him, James Clapper, asking him to brief then the president-elect on this dossier privately. And remember, it's Clapper that Congress believes allegedly leaked the information eventually to CNN that broke on the 12th of January 2017 about the dossier. CNN and a lot of other news agencies actually had this dossier and didn't want to run with it because it was salacious, it was unverified, they didn't want to do anything with it. But until they briefed the president, that was where they built the foundation so that the dossier could be leaked to the public. And another thing, Comey did not inform the president that they were using this dossier as the bulk, of course, to investigate him.
This is the irony. It was used as a basis for the FISA warrant in October. Comey knew all about it. He knew it was unverified. They never checked. He's admitting in the interviews this week he didn't verify it. But you use it before a FISA judge. David Schoen, why again do I feel, if anybody in our audience, if I did it, if you did it, if Sara did it, we'd be locked up. You don't lie to a judge. You know, if I'm one of those four FISA judges, I'd be apoplectic. I want to know what they think tonight.
I would imagine that the FISA judges are outraged and they want a lot more information. Look, in any circumstance, a prosecutor is not, or an agent is not permitted to lie or omit evidence, information when getting a warrant. But the FISA court of all things, since 1978, has been recognized as the exception. It's a secret court. It's a court in which the government makes ex parte unilateral submissions. They must be above board, full of disclosure at all times. But I'll tell you this, the government's being a bit selective. Mr. Comey and others a bit selective with what they want to disclose. Another thing in those memos are a question the president asked about whether a FISA application was up as to Mr. Flynn, and Comey said, well, on this occasion he would tell him, but in the future there's a different protocol. Can't be selective in those kinds of disclosures.
What about Rod Rosenstein telling the president last Thursday, Sara, that he's not a target in neither probe? Now, I get that status can change. Why would Rod Rosenstein volunteer that information? And Rod is releasing this now tonight, but we still have 1.2 million documents we've been waiting for that were subpoenaed by Chairman Goodlatte and others.
Well, let's start with the documents first, and then I'll go to Mr. Rosenstein and what he did there. As far as the documents are concerned, I have been told that there's roughly, of the 1.2 million, 46,000 documents that pertain to these cases in particular. Remember that the Inspector General has asked for the whole of all the documentation of all the people that he's investigating. So sometimes that falls into different cases that may have nothing to do with this, or emails that may have nothing to do with it. Of those documents, of those 1.2 million, it's 46,000. Of that, Congress has only received over 3,000.
Unbelievable.
So they have every right to be upset. And as for Mr. Rosenstein, why would he tell the president that? Well, right now we've seen a lot of tension between the White House and the Department of Justice. And maybe Mr. Rosenstein is trying to keep the president from making a move that he thinks he might make, which is maybe firing him. That could be one reason.
It's unbelievable.
But the president has said he wouldn't. So, I mean, that's another thing. We've got to go with what the president said, that he has no intention right now of firing him. They're both still working there, you know, Attorney General Jeff Sessions as well as Rosenstein.
Mr. Hannity, I want to return to
David, we'll give you the last word. We have some breaking news in a second. Go ahead.
Okay. Subject that you raised earlier. Sarah Carter's article yesterday about Congress's referral, Mrs. Clinton, et cetera. Very, very important. We're seeing a constitutional structural lesson here. Article 1, the legislature now is flexing its muscle. For anyone who says they don't do anything, in this case, they're taking an active role. The president is being laid back in a sense, as ironic as that sounds. He could be doing a lot more with his Article 2 power and the Justice Department, but he's letting that run its course. Congress is now taking an active role. It's a very important constitutional lesson. Everyone should read that article.
All right, great job, both of you. Sara, thank you. David, thank you both. Ed Henry, he has now been poring over these just-released Comey memos, and he joins us from Washington. You were very quick to pick up, oh, I'm not sneaky, I don't leak, and we know better now. What have you gotten?
I've got something new here, Sean, that's important, I think. A March 30th, 2017 memo from James Comey. We've just gone through it. It's summarizing a phone call that Comey had with the President of the United States. What's significant is that Comey says the president was not trying to shut down the FBI investigation of collusion. Instead, Comey says the president wanted to find out if anyone in the campaign did anything wrong, number one. And number two, wanted Comey, as we've heard previously, not really new, wanted Comey, the FBI, to go out there and say the president was not personally under investigation because he felt like this was hurting him in domestic politics here, on health care votes, but also on international negotiations. So here's the key point. In this memo, Comey writes that at one point, quote, Trump said that if there was some satellite, Comey took this to mean some associate of his campaign, that did something, it would be good to find that out, but that he had not done anything and hoped I would find a way to get out that we were not investigating him. This is why it's significant, because James Comey in this March 2017 memo is saying that the president told him he wanted to find out if anything had gone wrong with collusion. He didn't do anything personally, the president insisted, but if some satellite, some advisor, someone had done something wrong and had contact with Russia, he wanted to find it out. The point being, it would not be consistent with obstruction of justice if you're telling the FBI director, please find this out, but oh, by the way, please also tell the public I'm not personally under investigation. One other point.
He's actually telling them, Ed. He's actually saying to them, look, if somebody did it, I want you to find it.
Let's find out.
He's not only not
truth.
shutting the investigation down, he is literally encouraging him to find the truth, which is that is the smoking gun in the memo that nobody.
Not according to Sean Hannity, but according to James Comey, which is the key. James Comey is saying it.
Good
right?
point. I'm not. That's a very good point. And you know, every one of my guests just feels free. Just take a shot at Hannity, Alan Dershowitz, and Henry. Just fire at Hannity. All right, keep pouring through all of that.
Yeah, we will. We'll come back if we get more.
Great job as always, Ed Henry.